Hey folks, this is Rhykker with the Diablo 2 Resurrected Item Farming Guide. This is part 2 in a 3-part series, in which we cover all the best spots to farm the best gear in the game, where to find which items, and which areas are best to farm based on your build. This series is brought to you in collaboration with Diablo 2 expert Tio, and you can reference the written guides to these farming areas on maxroll.gg. Also, guides to all the builds we talk about in these videos can also be found on Maxroll. Now again, this video is part 2, where we cover the mid-game runs. Be sure to have first watched part 1 of this series, in which we cover the early game runs. When you're comfortable handling those, that's when you're ready to transition into these. And of course, you can feel free to reference the timestamps in the description below. Now, for mid-game runs, we have a few options for places we can farm. And thanks to patch 2.4, we can now farm in more areas than ever before. The first mid-game run we'll cover is the classic pit. This is also the easiest run. Every single unique and set item in the game can drop in the pit. And when you run the pit, you'll want to boost your magic find as high as possible to optimize your chances of getting those items. You see, the pit level 1 and level 2 are area level 85 zones, which means that elite packs in these areas can drop any unique and set item in the game. In addition to this, the high density of monsters in these areas can serve as a good source of high runes up to Zod, charms, and valuable rune word bases, especially when playing on higher player counts. To find the pit, use the waypoint in Act 1 to the outer cloister, and backtrack to the Tamo Highland. Follow the path until you reach a T-intersection. One branch is going to lead to the Black Marsh, the other one heads to the pit. Monsters in the pit have relatively low health, so you can get away with dropping damage in order to stack more magic find. Once inside the pit, be sure to kill all elite groups in level 1 before heading to level 2. In level 2, you'll also find a golden chest. In order to be as efficient as possible in the pit, high mobility is key. So let's go over the best build options for every class. Now I'll specify, you don't have to run these builds, we're just saying which are the best. For the Amazon, we have Lightning Fury, which has a higher damage output than any other Amazon build. Now some enemies you encounter, specifically Dark Archers, will be immune to lightning. So ideally, you're going to want a mercenary equipped with an infinity rune word to deal with those. But any other monster can be easily dispatched. Without an Enigma though, the Amazon lacks mobility. And even with an Enigma, her cast rate's going to be so low that sorceresses are still going to put you to shame. For the Assassin, the classic Lightning Sentry build is once again the best. We've got a video on the Lightning Trapson, by the way, if you want to check that out. Even without an Infinity, the Lightning Sentry Assassin can kill everything in the pit. When you run into those Dark Archers that are lightning immune, just throw Fire Blast at them. And then the Lightning Sentry plus Death Sentry combo just annihilates everything else. Burst of Speed grants you high mobility, making you less reliant on that Enigma. For the Barbarian, the most efficient elite hunting build is the Berserk build. When properly geared, you'll be able to kill your enemies in one hit. In fact, the Berserk build is often called the Pit Zerker, because it's actually the best build in the game for farming the pit. This is due to a combination of his one-shot capability, plus his find item skill, which gives him a chance to get extra drops from elites by yelling at their corpses. For the Druid, the Hurricane Tornado build can kill every monster in this area, thanks to its mixture of physical and cold damage. And surviving the pit is easy thanks to a combination of Cyclone Armor, which will absorb elemental damage, and a high life pool through Oak Sage that lets him tank melee attack damage. Plus you can use your summons to run interference and tank hits for you. For the Necromancer, the Poison Nova build is best. Since monsters have low life, Poison Nova can quickly create the first corpses you'll need to start your corpse explosion chain reactions. And since most damage you'll suffer in here is physical, Bone Armor will keep you nice and safe. For the Paladin, the Blessed Hammer build is best even before Enigma. By combining Charge, Vigor, Staff of Teleportation, he's only going to be slightly slower than a Sorceress. There's no monsters in the pit immune to magic, and your hammers deal magic damage. For the Sorceress, the Fireball Nova build is best, which is a hybrid build designed to run the pit. Dealing both fire and lightning damage, you can deal with any threat without need for an infinity. That takes us to our next run, the Ancient Tunnels. This is an Act 2 zone that is the best for cold builds, because it completely lacks any monsters that are immune naturally to cold. If you're a Blizzard Sorceress, this is your haven. Now, many other builds can also effectively farm this zone, which is another area level 85 zone that can drop every set and unique item. There's also a golden chest at the end that you don't want to miss. And while that chest cannot drop every item in the game, it can drop a large amount of good items, and it's even worth grabbing it if you don't have much magic find. Now, in addition to the unique and set items you can farm in the zone from unique and champion monsters, you can get great high-tier rune word bases from normal monsters. Oh, and it's also a great source of XP, with pretty low gear requirements to be efficient. In fact, many people start farming Ancient Tunnels as soon as they hit level 75, and they get all the way to 85 just running this zone. To find the Ancient Tunnels, take the Lost City waypoint in Act 2, and search around for the cellar doors to the left of the ruined building with 2 doors near it. Looks like this. Now for this run, you want to ideally be able to break any immunity you may run into. There are no naturally spawning physical or cold immunes, but boss packs may spawn with an affix that gives them an immunity. In order to break fire, lightning, or cold immunities, an infinity is required. As for poison immunity, that's broken with just a level 1 lower resist Necromancer curse. And physical immunity is broken by a level 1 amplified damage curse, or a decrepify curse. Now one specific danger to be aware of in the Ancient Tunnels are horror mages. They're the only ranged monster you're going to run into, and they deal a ton of lightning damage. You ideally want to be stacking at least 75% lightning resist before running these tunnels. As for what builds are ideal here, again, we're looking for high mobility as well as access to multiple damage types. Or just cold damage, that works too. For the Amazon, the Freezing Arrow Boazon brings the desired cold damage plus massive area of effect crowd control to lock down enemies. And in the event of any cold immunes that may spawn, she has access to physical damage and magic damage to help deal with them. While she doesn't have teleport, she can stack a lot of faster run walk to make up for it. For the Assassin, the Lightning Sentry build can easily farm this area with little gear investment. Burst of Speed brings the mobility. Lightning Sentry, Death Sentry combo brings that lightning and physical damage. And once she gets Infinity, she can break any immunity. For the Barbarian, the Berserk build is best. You're going to focus on killing the boss of each pack. You're not here to kill normal monsters. You use Howl to scare away minions and then just focus down the boss, and then find item on the corpse to hopefully get another drop. For the Druid, the Fisher Druid is the best. Only one monster in the Ancient Tunnels has natural fire resistance. And once you get an Infinity, then nothing can survive your Fissures. Add an Enigma for mobility, and this becomes a valuable farming area. For the Necromancer, the Summoner build is very safe to take into the tunnels. With access to fire and physical damage, you can kill everything, and a Summoner Necro can start farming this zone with little gear investment. For the Paladin, we're gonna recommend the Dream Zealer build. Yeah, I bet you're surprised I didn't say Hammered in. And this is because the tight passages are just ill-suited for the hammers. With access to charge and vigor, this build has high mobility even without teleport, and the physical and lightning damage that you're going to deal can deal with anything in here. For the Sorceress, the Blizzard build is not just the best Sorceress build for this run, but the best build in the game for it, period. Between the cold damage of Blizzard and the crowd control of Glacial Spike, you'll be able to kill everything in here easily and slow enemies to keep yourself alive. And most importantly, you can stack a ton of magic find. Alright, the next one we're going to cover is the Arcane Sanctuary, in which you can find the Summoner. Now from the Summoner, you can get the Key of Hate, which is a necessary component to farming the Hellfire Torch. And the Summoner is the only enemy that drops the key. Then throughout the Arcane Sanctuary, you can find 8 to 9 super chests that'll drop lots of items, including runes up to Vex, a large quantity of charms, gems, and jewelry. You find these super chests in those dead-end zones where you don't find the Summoner. And you also have a high chance of getting rune, charm, and jewelry drops from Spectres, which can drop as high as a Cham rune. And if you cap out your fire resistance, then you only really have to worry about melee physical damage. For cold and lightning resistance, you only really need 50% to survive the cold and lightning attacks in this area. To access the Arcane Sanctuary, simply take the Act 2 waypoint, which will plop you in the center of this Byzantine MC Escher world. Playing on higher player count is always beneficial here, odd player count only, as we explained in our previous video. Not only for the regular reason of the regular drops, but also to increase your odds of getting a Key of Hate to drop. Now, when killing Spectres, it should be noted that you need to kill a Spectre when it is hovering on the floor, over the floor. If it's in the air in some nether space and it dies, it's not going to drop anything. In order for drops to drop, the monster needs to be floating over a floor tile that you can walk onto. Now for build recommendations, the Summoner here is never immune to any element. Any build can kill him. So if the Key of Hate is your desired drop here, if that's why you're farming this zone, then you can run any build as long as you can bypass the cold and fire immune monsters you run into in order to get to the Summoner. If, however, you want to farm those Spectres for their juicy drops, then only physical builds are ruled out, as they are physical immune. For specific build recommendations, the Amazon's Lightning Fury build is once again a star here. Even without Infinity, the Javazon can easily farm Arcane Sanctuary and Summoner. No monsters immune to her, apart from the odd elite group. Without an Enigma, you're gonna be slow in this zone, but hey, at least you don't have to find it. The waypoint takes you right there. For the Assassin, Lightning Sentry, once again your go-to here. Burst of Speed lets you zoom along, add in a Staff of Teleportation if you're on a budget, and mobility is no problem. For the Barbarian, well, Most Barbarian builds only deal physical damage, so farming Spectres is not an option. The Summoner is, however, very easy to deal with the Berserk build. You can even farm the chests by using Howl to get enemies to run out of your way and let you click on them. By using the increased speed passive combined with a Staff of Teleportation, you have some decent mobility for this run as well. For the Druid, the Hurricane Tornado build deals physical and cold damage, so he can kill anything in the Arcane Sanctuary. But because his main damage type is physical, it's not recommended to farm Spectres with this build. It's just going to take too long. Also, his only mobility option is a Staff of Teleportation in a weapon swap, so this isn't the most efficient farm for a Druid. For the Necromancer, the Bone Spear build doesn't have to worry about any immunities in this area. Same for the Paladin's Blessed Hammer build, and even before Enigma, again, high mobility thanks to Charge Figure, Staff of Teleportation. For the Sorceress, both the Blizzard build and the Meteor build work here. With your Teleport, you can snipe Spectres, but you might run into enemies that are immune to you that you'll have to maneuver around. The Lightning build is the best build of all classes for farming the Arcane Sanctuary. Teleport combined with a damage type that nothing is immune to. Our next farming run is going to be Nihlathak, who's the only enemy who drops the Key of Destruction needed for farming Ubers. He can also drop every single item in the game, but farming him for unique or set items is inefficient compared to farming those items elsewhere. He's also one of only 3 enemies in the game, the other 2 being Diablo and Bale, who can drop a Grand Charm that is high enough item level to get the plus 41 to 45 life affix. These charms can be re-rolled by putting the charm in the cube plus 3 perfect gems, hit transmute, and cross your fingers to get a Grand Charm that has +1 to a skill tree and plus 41 or more to life. You can find Nihlathak by taking the waypoint in Act 5 to the Halls of Pain. And then you need to find your way to the Halls of Vought. Now, the Halls of Pain has 3 possible layouts. We're going to put this on screen because it's a little complicated, but there is a trick to this. 3 possible layouts. So once you've memorized the 3 patterns, you'll be able to easily find the Halls of Vought. If the exit to the waypoint room is towards the southwest, then the Halls of Vought are to the east. If the exit is a twisting path to the west, then the Halls of Vought are towards the west-southwest. And if the exit is a 2-branch path towards the west, then the Halls of Vought are towards the northwest. Once you get to the Halls of Vought, now you gotta find Nihlathak. This area is shaped like an X. 3 of the directions are dead ends, 1 is where you find Nihlathak. Now there's a trick to this level as well. Again, we're going to show this on screen. You need to look for the red eyes on the wall at the locations marked here. If you see the red eyes, then that's the branch to take. Now fighting Nihlathak can be a bit tricky. His corpse explosion can one-shot you even if you have 1,500 life. So to reduce your odds of getting one-shot, you can wear gear with a high amount of damage reduction on it. You can wear a Nature's Peace ring, which has the property Slain Monsters Rest in Peace, which will remove corpses to give Nihlathak less ammunition. You can also actively remove corpses before Nihlathak has a chance to explode them. An Assassin can use Death Sentry, and a Necromancer can use his own corpse explosion to blow up those corpses, or summon those corpses into skeletons. The Paladin can use the Redemption Aura, or just stay the hell away from the corpses. If you're not in range, you can't get killed. Also, if you're able to just snipe Nihlathak without creating corpses, that's also very effective. Build recommendations would, again, be Lightning Fury Javazon. When well equipped and with an infinity, she can one-shot Nihlathak. However, sometimes Nihlathak might spawn as lightning enchanted and magic resistant, which would make him so immune to lightning that not even an infinity could break it. In this case, you'll need to use Jab to kill him. For the Assassin, even a budget Lightning Sentry build can destroy Nihlathak thanks to the 1-2 punch of Lightning Sentry and Death Sentry, which will pull an Uno reverse card and explode corpses on him instead. For the Barbarian, the Berserk build can just jump on Nihlathak, use Howl to clear the area, and focus him down. You don't have to worry about corpse explosion if you don't create any corpses. For the Druid, the Hurricane Tornado build can quickly deal with Nihlathak by teleporting on top of him and then killing him with Tornado. Thanks to Oak Sage, you should have enough life to survive a corpse explosion, particularly with Cyclone Armor reducing the fire damage part of corpse explosion. For the Necromancer, the Bone Spear build can keep enemies, and thus their corpses, away from you with Bone Prison. Then just snipe things with Bone Spear, and use your own corpse explosion to boom the corpses. When you're well geared, only a couple Bone Spears are needed to kill Nihlathak, and your Bone Armor is even capable of negating most of the damage from a corpse explosion. For the Paladin, surprise surprise, Blessed Hammer. Teleport onto Nihlathak, spam your hammers, and if you're on a budget and you cannot teleport to him, then just use Redemption skill to remove corpses to make a safe path to him. For the Sorceress, you have 3 options. The Blizzard build will not be able to kill Nihlathak's minions because they are immune to cold. That sounds bad, but it means they can't turn into corpses. Even a low-budget Sorceress can kill Nihlathak, unless he spawns immune to cold, in which case it's best to just mulligan the run, give up, try again. The Meteor build can obliterate Nihlathak, but you gotta be wary of the corpses you're gonna make along the way. And a well-geared Lightning Sorceress with Infinity can snipe Nihlathak easily, but Nihlathak will sometimes spawn with magic resistance and lightning enchanted and be totally impervious to you. Alright, our next zone is one of the new areas to farm with patch 2.4, the Arachnid Lair. It's been changed into a high level 85 zone, so it can now drop every unique and set item in the game, as well as valuable high runes. You want to ramp up your magic find as much as possible for this run. Bump up the player count if you can. There's also a golden chest in this zone and many clickables that can drop some juicy loot. Also, the Arachnid Lair is right next to the Spider Forest waypoint in Act 3, so it's very accessible even to a character with low mobility. Once inside, your main target is the golden chest along with whatever elite packs you encounter along the way. The Arachnid Lair has monsters that are easy to kill with very few immunity types, and the immunities that do spawn apart from poison are easily broken with an Infinity Rune Word or even a Plague Rune Word. For the Amazon, the Freezing Arrow build is best thanks to the absence of cold immunes in the area. Especially on a budget, this area is ideal for this build. For the Assassin, Lightning Sentry. Even without an Infinity, it can kill everything in here by using Fire Blast against Fiends who are immune to Lightning, and then Lightning plus Death Sentry to obliterate everything else. For the Barbarian, the Berserk build is best for hunting the elites within the lair. Use Howl to clear away other monsters. And when well equipped, he's going to be one-shot killing the elites. And then find item on the corpses. For the Druid, Hurricane Tornado is well suited for farming the Arachnid Lair. Oak Sage gives him that big life pool. He can handle melee damage. And his combination of physical and cold makes him able to kill everything in here. In fact, Hurricane by itself is going to kill most monsters in a couple seconds. For the Necromancer, the Bone Spear build is great because monsters in here have low resistance to magic damage. For the Paladin, even a low-budget Zeal Paladin can easily cut through all the enemies in this area. As a physical damage build, no enemies in here will be immune to you, and again, because of the tight passages, a Hammerdin's hammers would be getting caught on the walls. For the Sorceress, Blizzard is best. No monsters in here are immune to cold, and you don't even need that much damage, so you can stack a lot more magic find. Alright, another new zone in 2.4 to farm is the Stony Tomb, which has also been upgraded to area level 85. Every unique and set item in the game can drop here, as well as valuable high runes. Again, bump up that magic find, crank up the player count, and go to town. Well, don't go to town, leave town to reach the Stony Tomb. Specifically, Act 2, Luke Lane, walk out, and you're going to find the Stony Tomb somewhere in the Rocky Waste. Monsters in the zone are going to have very low life, so you can afford to even drop your damage down and stack up magic find gear. Killing the high density of monsters in this area will also net you high runes up to Zod, charms, and valuable rune word bases. Now, the super unique that spawns in here is named Creeping Feature, and he always spawns as extra strong and cold enchanted. He's immune to cold and poison, but you can break these resists with things like the Conviction Aura or the lower resist curse. He spawns with his pack of minions in the middle of a room in the Stony Tomb, level 2, and is generally surrounded by a lot of other monsters, including elites. Always clear this room to maximize your farming efficiency. There's also a golden chest on level 2, which you'll also want to grab before leaving. Now, for builds, the Stony Tomb has very few immunity types, and the monsters inside, again, are easy to kill. So to be as efficient as possible, you want high mobility. For the Amazon, the multiple shot Boazon is best, as you'll run into nothing that is immune to physical. With 1 or 2 shots, you can clear every hallway, and on lower player settings, you can easily wear more magic find without losing any clear speed. Without Enigma, you just want to stack as much move speed as possible to be able to find the entrance to the Stony Tomb as quickly as possible. For the Assassin, the Wake of Fire build. Something that's not lightning traps in. Wake of Fire can kill everything in the Stony Tomb, even without an Infinity. And it should only take about 2 Wake of Fire traps and 2 Death Sentry traps to clear every room you run into. When you run into unique monsters that have fire resistance, toss extra fire blasts on them. Just brute force DPS them down. Enigma isn't even that important because your burst of speed will get you to the tomb very quickly. For the Barbarian, once again, Berserk. He's just the most efficient elite hunter in the game. When running Stony Tomb, just hunt for the elites within it, one-shot them after using Howl to scare off the trash, then find item on the corpse for extra drops. For For the Druid, the Fisher Druid deals massive fire and physical damage, and there are no natural immunes in this area. Elite monsters may spawn with an immunity at worst. You can also easily work an Enigma into this build, as well as an Infinity to maximize your efficiency, but neither is needed to start farming this spot. For the Necromancer, the Summoner is particularly efficient here, because monsters have so little life that your summons can quickly create the first corpses that you'll need to start using Corpse Explosion to clear the area. And your Bone Armor will help negate a lot of the damage you take in this area. For the Paladin, the Fist of the Heavens Paladin is able to break all immunities in this zone. And because most enemies are undead, you can instantly kill most of the enemies you encounter. Even before you get Enigma, your combination of Charge Vigor, a Staff of Teleportation, gives you the mobility that you need, and makes you only slightly slower than a Sorceress. Now, we should mention that the Death Beetles you encounter here are not as susceptible to Fist of the Heavens, so it'll take you longer to kill them, but the undead will die so quickly that it'll more than make up for the extra time needed to kill the beetles. For the Sorceress, the Hydra build uses Fireball to clear out the rooms you enter, and you finish off the tankier elites with Hydra. While an Infinity here would help with your clear speed, it is not needed. Alright, the final mid-game farming run we'll really talk about here is the Pandemonium Event, aka Uber Tristram, where you fight the Uber bosses to get the Hellfire Torch, a key piece of gear for literally every build in the game, because it has +3 to the skill levels of a random class. Now, to farm the Hellfire Torch, you gotta follow a 3-step process. First, you need to farm 3 of all 3 keys. 3 keys of terror from the Countess, 3 keys of hate from the Summoner, and 3 keys of destruction from Nihlathak. We've already covered in this video and our previous video how to farm all those. Then you need to fight the mini Ubers by going to Act 5 in Hell difficulty. Put 1 of each of the 3 keys in the cube and hit Transmute. This will randomly open 1 of 3 red portals to either the Matron's Den, the Forgotten Sands, or the Furnace of Pain. Then move away a little bit, and once again put 1 of each of the 3 keys in the cube and transmute. This will randomly open a second portal, but 2 instances of the same portal cannot occur in the same game, so it is forced to pick 1 of the remaining 2 portals. Repeat this 1 final time to get the last portal to spawn. This is why it's important to wait to get 3 of each key before doing this. You want to ensure you get all 3 portals in one game. Within the Matron's Den, you're going to fight the mini Uber boss Lilith, who's basically Uber Andariel. She's the deadliest of the mini Ubers. She's immune to poison and she deals a huge amount of poison damage. When you kill her, she drops Diablo's horn, which you'll need for our next steps. In the Forgotten Sands, you'll find Uber Duriel. He's the easiest of the 3, though he is immune to cold and packs a mean punch. He'll drop Bale's Eye. And then in the Furnace of Pain, you'll fight Uber Izual, who is also immune to cold, and he'll drop Mephisto's Brain. Then lastly, once you've collected Diablo's Horn, Bale's Eye, and Mephisto's Brain, you put those 3 in the cube and hit Transmute to open the portal to Uber Tristram. There you're gonna have to fight Uber Mephisto, Uber Bale, and Uber Diablo. They're all magic resistant and immune to 1 element. Mephisto is immune to lightning, Bale is immune to cold, and Bale spawns minions who are immune to physical, and Diablo is immune to fire, and he spawns minions who are immune to everything but physical. Fighting all 3 Ubers at once is very dangerous, so it's best to lure them away and try to fight 1 at a time. Most builds recommended for fighting the Ubers are physical damage melee builds that use the life tap from Dracul's Grasp gloves to stay alive. Life Tap is a curse that gives you a massive 50% life leech. You'll also want to go into the fight with a Wand of Life Tap on your weapon swap and pre-cast Life Tap to keep you alive long enough to trigger the Life Tap from your gloves. In fact, even if you don't have Dracul's Grasp gloves, you can just use the Wand of Life Tap in the meantime, and you can shop for 1 in Nightmare Act 1. You also want to enter these fights with overcapped resistances, because Uber Mephisto will use the Conviction Aura to reduce your resistances by 125%. So because of this, you want to have a total of 300% lightning and 300% cold resistance. Fire and poison aren't as important to overcap. Now, as for specific builds, Maxroll has a tier list of the best builds for killing Ubers. The Paladin is the best class for this. The Smite Paladin excels at killing bosses, and he is the ultimate Hellfire farming build. Not only does he deal incredible single target damage, but he also has the tankiness to take on the Ubers. Other classes have options too, though. For the Assassin, the Dragon Talon Assassin is best, aka the Kixin. The only thing that makes her worse than the Smiter is that she's dependent on attack rating. Paladin always hits, she has a chance to miss. But her fast attack speed makes her apply Crushing Blow very quickly nonetheless, letting her take down Ubers in no time. Crushing Blow is a stat that deals amount of damage that scales based on the target's health, so it doesn't matter whether the target has a little health or a lot of health, it's always a percentage. So it's very, very powerful against enemies with tons of health like Ubers. For the Barbarian, the Frenzy build is the build of choice. It's a boss killing build, and with some tweaks to gearing that includes stacking damage reduction, it can destroy Ubers. For the Sorceress, the Werebear build is your best option. This build is made possible with the Beast rune word, which allows a non-druid to shapeshift into a werebear. While it's very expensive to put together, it's tanky and deals incredible single target damage. The Druid and Necromancer tend to be slower than the builds we've covered so far. For the Druid, the best option is the Fury Druid, a werewolf build with an Uber variant that focuses on stacking Crushing Blow to kill the Ubers. And the Necromancer's Summoner build is his best option for Ubers, though it does need you to be well geared for it. His minions are able to deal a lot of single target damage quite quickly when you can get them to focus down on one target. But the Summoner heavily relies on reviving monsters that have Crushing Blow, such as the Urdars that spawn in the River of Flame. So you got to do some setup first. Then lastly, we have the Amazon. The Lightning Fury build can be set up to become one of the fastest killers of the Ubers. However, she relies on lower resist proccing from a Frenzy Mercenary. That's an Act 5 Barbarian, which you covered in this video here, so that does make her rather inconsistent. Alright, now there's one last mid-game run we'll briefly mention here. Thresh Socket. He's a super unique that can drop a wide range of unique and set items, and he's very easy to find because he's always at the end of Act 5's Ariat Plateau, right in front of the entrance to the Crystalline Passage. However, while he is easy to find, he's not always quick to reach, and it can depend on the spawning of the waypoint in the area. Sometimes the waypoint spawns right next to him. So if you're playing single player offline, your map layouts remain static every time you exit and re-enter the game until you change game difficulty. So you want to re-roll your map layout until you get a close spawn. Then it's sufficient to do the run. But for multiplayer online, the map layout will always be random. So it's not worth doing this run. Super quick build recommendations: Javazon, Lightning Sentry Assassin, Berserk Barbarian, Tornado Hurricane Druid, Bone Spear Necro, Hammered In, Meteor Sorceress. And that's going to wrap up this video, but again, stay tuned for part 3, the final part of the series where we cover the late game runs. This is when you are well geared and can now farm gear for other characters. Also, be sure to check out all of the other Diablo 2 videos we've blasted in the past couple of weeks. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider budging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more Diablo content.